There comes a moment in every life when something quietly pulls at you, a feeling, a direction, a whisper you can't fully explain, yet it doesn't go away. That whisper is your calling, and most people ignore it, not because they don't feel it, but because they don't feel ready. But here's the truth. No one is ready when the journey first calls. Every hero in every story begins with uncertainty. They begin from confusion, self-doubt, hesitation. They step forward not because they are prepared, but because something inside them insists that they must go anyway. Your calling is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to begin. The path only reveals itself when you walk it, meaning doesn't come before the journey. It comes because of the journey. When you follow what feels alive, what feels honest, what feels like yours, the world around you begins to reorganize itself in ways you couldn't predict. And your bliss is not a luxury, it is your direction. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait for the rest of your life. But if you dare to take even one small step toward what calls you, the universe meets you halfway. Doors appear, helpers arrive, circumstances shift. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become aligned. Your calling does not demand certainty, only willingness. Follow your bliss, even if your hands are shaking. That is how heroes begin. When we speak about calling, purpose, or destiny, we often imagine a moment of clarity, some beam of light that tells us exactly what to do. But in truth, the path never begins with certainty. It begins with a quiet tug, a whisper in the heart that says, there is more. And almost always, we feel unprepared. We feel small compared to the size of the dream. But this is the essence of the hero's journey. Every hero begins in the ordinary world, doubtful, uncertain, unsure. The difference between those who transform their lives and those who stay trapped in fear is simple. They answer the call even when they feel unready. Your bliss, your deepest calling, is not something you invent. It is something that pulls you, something that refuses to leave you alone. And you will never feel fully prepared for it, because a calling isn't asking for who you are today. It is asking for who you could become. The moment you take even the smallest step toward that inner voice, life begins to shift. Doors open where there were none. People appear who were invisible before. The world, which once seemed indifferent to your dreams, begins to respond as if it had been waiting for you all along. This is not magic, it is alignment. The fear you feel is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that something meaningful is at stake. Every adventure has a threshold, a line between your comfort and your growth. Crossing that threshold will never feel easy or familiar, but the unfamiliar is exactly where the transformation happens. You do not need to see the whole path. You only need to say yes to the beginning. Your calling will guide you, reveal itself step by step, the way the path appears only when you start walking. Follow your bliss, not because it is easy, but because it is yours. In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek. And the greatest tragedy is not that people fail to achieve their potential. It is that they never begin. Your calling is not waiting for you to be perfect. It is waiting for you to be willing. Every myth, every legend, every hero story begins the same way, with someone who feels unready, stepping forward anyway. And so must you. When we talk about a calling, we imagine clarity. A moment of revelation, as if destiny arrives with a detailed map, showing us every step ahead. But callings don't work that way. They rarely come as instructions. They come as a feeling, subtle, persistent, and often inconvenient. Your calling whispers to you long before you feel ready to listen to it. This is why so many people ignore it. The hero in every myth begins exactly where you are, in the ordinary world, surrounded by routine, comfort, and familiarity. And then something stirs, a longing, a tension, a disquiet in the soul. The call doesn't ask if you are prepared. It simply asks if you are willing. To follow your bliss is not to chase pleasure. Bliss is a deep sense of alignment that happens when you move toward what resonates with your soul. It is the compass of your life, and that compass points you toward places that demand you grow beyond who you currently are. You will feel too small for your dreams. You will doubt your abilities. You will question whether the timing is right. But the truth is, the path never reveals itself until you take the first step. Every hero stands at the threshold, looking into the unknown, feeling the pull forward and the fear holding them back. And in that moment, they must make a choice. Your calling will not negotiate with your comfort. It will not wait for you to feel perfect or confident. A calling is an invitation to transformation, and transformation always begins with uncertainty. That uncertainty is not a blockade, it is a sign that you are entering the realm where your old identity can no longer guide you. If you wait for the day you feel ready, you will wait forever. The adventure begins only when you say yes, even if your voice trembles. Destiny favors the bold, but it also embraces the uncertain, the hesitant, the imperfect. The world opens its doors to those who dare to move, not those who insist on seeing the entire journey beforehand. There is a reason myths tell us, in the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek. The fear is the indicator. It tells you exactly where your growth lives. It tells you where the deeper version of yourself is waiting. Following your bliss is not reckless. It is the most responsible act you can perform because it aligns your life with your inner truth. When you follow that truth, people appear who were always meant to find you. Opportunities arise that were sleeping until you approach them. The universe mirrors your courage. You are not unready. You are simply standing at the beginning of the most important journey of your life. And beginnings always feel like uncertainty dressed as possibility. Say yes to your bliss. Say yes to your transformation. Say yes to the path that leads you home to yourself.
People believe they must have everything figured out before they begin. They want guarantees, clarity, a full map of the future. But life doesn't work that way, and it's not supposed to. You don't need to be ready, you only need to be open. Think of a river. It doesn't wait for permission to flow. It doesn't ask itself if it is prepared. It moves because that is its nature, and you are no different. You are not meant to force every step. You are meant to trust the current of your own existence. When something calls to you, it is life speaking in your own voice, and life is far wiser than your fear. You don't have to know how everything will unfold. You don't have to understand every step. The need for absolute certainty is what keeps people frozen. But the moment you loosen your grip, the moment you stop trying to control the outcome, something remarkable happens. You begin to move. Life begins to carry you. Paths open that you could never have designed. Your calling becomes clearer with every step you take. Readiness is not a requirement. Readiness is a result of beginning. Allow yourself to be guided. Surrender the need to have all the answers. If life is nudging you, trust that there is something within you already prepared for the journey, even if you cannot see it yet. You grow into your calling by walking toward it. We often believe we must have everything figured out before pursuing our calling, but life is far too fluid, too mysterious, too dynamic for rigid certainty. Feeling unready is not a problem. It is the natural state of all beings who are alive and evolving. You are not here to predict the future. You are here to participate in it. When you feel unprepared, life is inviting you into a deeper relationship with trust. Not blind belief, but a fundamental understanding that the universe is not working against you. You are part of it, made from the same energy, the same patterns, the same flow. The river does not ask permission to move, it simply moves. And so must you. Much of our suffering comes from the attempt to control what is inherently uncontrollable. Your calling is not a puzzle to solve. It is a current to move with. The more you try to force certainty, the more rigid and anxious you become. But when you learn to lean into uncertainty, life becomes lighter, more playful, more spacious. Think of how a seed grows. It does not know the shape of the tree it will become. It simply responds to its nature. It unfolds. That is what pursuing your calling looks like. Not a perfect blueprint, but a continuous unfolding of your deeper nature. And yes, fear will arise, doubt will arise. But these are not signs that you are on the wrong path. They are signs that you are touching the edges of your comfort, stretching into the unknown where all creativity, beauty, and discovery exist. To feel unready is to be alive. It means you are standing at the threshold of growth. And growth always asks for a leap, not because the ground is unsafe, but because you were made to fly. When you stop demanding absolute clarity, you begin to see the world as it truly is. Fluid, ever-changing, endlessly supportive to those who are willing to participate. Your calling is not some distant destiny. It is a movement, one that is already happening inside you. Let yourself be carried. Trust the rhythm. And understand that readiness is not a requirement for beginning. Beginning is what creates readiness. We humans have a peculiar habit. We believe that before we take a step into life, We must be fully prepared for every possible outcome. We seek guarantees, assurances, certainties, but life does not operate through certainty. It operates through movement. Feeling unready is not a flaw. It is the natural state of anyone who is alive and evolving. Consider the nature of the world you live in. Everything flows, everything shifts. No moment is identical to the last. You too are part of this great flowing process. And yet you resist the current, telling yourself you must first become perfect, knowledgeable, confident. But confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is the result of action. The reason you feel unready is because your mind is clinging to an illusion of control. You want to predict outcomes before participating in them. But the only thing life guarantees is participation itself. The river does not need to know the entire route before it begins to move. It simply moves and discovers its path by flowing. So when you feel unready, perhaps life is simply asking you to trust it a little more, to stop insisting that everything must be figured out, to learn to dance with uncertainty instead of resisting it. There is wisdom in surrender, not passive resignation, but active trust. Your calling is the current. It pulls you because it knows where you are meant to go long before you do. Much of human suffering comes from this idea of separation, the belief that you are a solitary being trying to force life into your plans. But consider the possibility that your calling is not separate from you, that it is life speaking through you, that the impulse you feel is not random, but an expression of the deeper intelligence that moves all things. You do not have to strain. You do not have to push. You do not have to be ready. You simply have to participate in the unfolding. When you stop forcing readiness and start allowing movement, something astonishing happens. Life becomes cooperative. Support appears. Synchronicities align. You begin to realize that you were never meant to walk this journey alone. Readiness is a myth. Flow is the truth. You learn to swim by entering the water. You learn to live by living. And you learn to fulfill your calling by stepping into it without demanding certainty. The moment you let go of perfection, you become available for possibility. So surrender, not as defeat, but as alignment. Let life carry you the way a wave carries a surfer, not by force, but by partnership. Trust the movement of your own becoming. The readiness you seek will appear, but only after you begin.
When you feel the pull towards something meaningful, that is not random. That is the voice of your deeper self, the part of you that knows why you are here, even when your conscious mind does not. Your calling is a conversation between your soul and your future. People think they need confidence before they begin, but confidence is the last thing that arrives. Your destiny unfolds through action, not certainty. The path of individuation, becoming who you truly are, requires moving toward the unknown. The unknown is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Inside every fear is a piece of truth about who you are becoming. Inside every hesitation is a piece of power waiting to be claimed, and inside every longing is a direction meant only for you. Your calling will often appear at the exact moment you feel least prepared. Why? Because a calling is not assigned to the version of you that exists today. It is assigned to the version of you you're meant to grow into. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfect timing. Do not wait to feel worthy. If something inside you is asking to be lived, honor it. Walk toward it, even clumsily. Your courage awakens forces within you that remain dormant until you commit. When you say yes, your inner world begins to organize itself around that yes. This is how destiny works. It reveals itself step by step, only to those willing to begin before they feel ready. Every human being carries within them a unique psychological pattern, a seed of destiny I call the process of individuation. It is the unfolding of the true self, the deep inner blueprint that guides your life toward authenticity. But the path to this inner truth rarely begins with feeling ready. It begins with a sense of discomfort, a quiet dissatisfaction with the life you've settled into. Your calling is the language of your unconscious. It speaks through intuition, dreams, impulses, and the subtle sense that you are meant for something more. But the ego resists this. The ego clings to safety, to familiarity, to what is known. It tells you that you are not prepared, not experienced, not worthy. This inner conflict is the root of the feeling of unreadiness. But the unconscious, the deeper, wiser part of you, does not care about perfection. It cares about movement. It cares about growth. It is pulling you toward the person you were born to become. The feeling of unpreparedness is not a flaw. It is an invitation. It means you are standing at the doorway of your own evolution. And evolution always demands that we step beyond the limits of who we currently are. Your calling is not random. It is the manifestation of your psychological potential, the symbol of your next transformation. And if you ignore it, it does not disappear. It returns as anxiety, frustration, restlessness, or a persistent feeling that something essential is missing. To pursue your calling, you must be willing to confront your own shadows, the parts of yourself you avoid, deny, or underestimate. For within these shadows lie your greatest strengths, your dormant talents, and the energy needed to fulfill your destiny. You are not unready, you are unfolding. The path does not require confidence, it requires sincerity, it requires listening, it requires the courage to follow the whisper inside you, even when your mind insists that you are not prepared. Your calling is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. Walk toward it with humility, with curiosity, with openness. The path will reveal itself as you move. And in the end, you will not become someone new, you will become yourself. Every human being senses at some point a quiet pressure inside, a symbolic weight that says, you are meant for more than this. This pressure is not ambition, it is not ego. It is the unconscious attempting to guide you toward individuation, the process of becoming your truest self. And the unconscious does not wait for you to feel prepared. It communicates through instinct, intuition, dreams, inspiration, all things that arrive before you rationally understand them. Your calling is the voice of your deeper self, and the deeper self speaks in whispers, long before the ego feels comfortable with the message. The ego wants safety, predictability, and external validation. It will tell you that you lack the skills, the knowledge, the experience. It will highlight your flaws, magnify your doubts, and exaggerate the risks. This is not because the ego is malicious. It simply fears dissolution, it fears change. But your calling is the invitation to evolve beyond that limited identity. Feeling unready is the tension between who you are and who you are meant to become. It is the friction of transformation, and transformation is never smooth. The seed must break before the tree can emerge. The old self must crack so the new self can breathe. If you deny your calling, it does not vanish. It returns as restlessness, anxiety, frustration, or a haunting sense that life is passing you by. These are symptoms of a soul that is not being lived. To pursue your calling is to walk toward your own potential. It is to step into the unknown where your latent strengths reside. It requires confronting your shadow, the forgotten, rejected, underestimated parts of yourself, because within that shadow lies the power you need to fulfill what life is asking of you. Your destiny is not something external. It is the unfolding of your inner architecture, and readiness is created by movement, not by waiting. You are ready the moment you decide to listen. The unconscious does not ask for perfection. It asks for sincerity. It asks for courage. It asks for a willingness to become who you truly are. You were not born to repeat the past. You were born to reveal the potential hidden within you. Your calling is the bridge between your current identity and your true self. Walk that bridge with humility, curiosity, and courage. You will discover that the readiness you long for has been waiting for you within your own depths.